Fair warning, this show contains strong language and adult themes from time to time. Sorry, Jerry can't help it.
Sick Boy Wolfgang Productions presents The Offering with Jerry Horror. A deep dive into the history of film and its filmmakers. Mostly horror, always genre.
Stay spooky all year long at Strangelove Parlor, Long Island's exquisite oddities and curiosity parlor in Lindenhurst, New York. They've got some ghastly apparel. Strangelove Parlor supplies an array of goth jewelry, unisex horror-themed gear, Halloween accoutrement, monstrous purses and wallets, spooky pins, patches, and stickers, providing you with the most wonderful and the most strange of treasures. Visit Strangelove Parlor regularly to find the item of your dreams, or perhaps even your nightmares. Grab your ghoul gang and visit today. Strangelove Parlor in Lindenhurst, Long Island, New York. Welcome to The Offering with me, your host, Jerry Horror. Each week we take a deep dive into the history of film and filmmakers. Mostly horror, always genre. Please take a moment to subscribe to our show wherever you find your favorite podcast to stay up to date on future episodes. Coming up, the leading man once commented that during production he wasn't sure if he would live through the making of this movie. Sam Elliott once claimed this is the movie he's recognized for the most. He turned it down because he thought it was too similar to his role in the 1985 film Mask. The Razzie Movie Guide lists this film among the 100 most enjoyably bad movies ever made. Stay tuned, you're not going to want to miss this.
Classics, modern fights, Jerry guides us through the nights, horror's history in the lights, exploring endless chills and heights. George Romero, lost footage and hidden gems, director's visions, dark diadems behind the scenes. We're taking their insightful whispered secrets we share. Sam Raimi. The Offering with Jerry Horror, stories old and new. Jason Kruger, Bruce Campbell, Joe, a twist that shake your core. Every episode, we craving more. Mostly horror, always genre.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends beyond the binary, this is The Offering, and I am your host, Jerry Horror. Woo, getting back into the groove of it. This is season 5. How do we make it this far? I'm happy you're here. There's going to be a lot more nonsense, as there always is. Shout out to R.A. the Rugged Man for the parental advisory. Shout out to the Scariatrics for the theme song. Shout out to my producer Pete, because he's dope. This is starting to sound like like 90s rap albums all had there was like a shout out track, you know, it's like you had to like shout out your crew, and yeah, they always had those, and nowadays they don't have that anymore. Things are different. Hip hop has changed, really has. Now you can be a neurodivergent trans superstar. Yeah, no, you need a complicated backstory. That's the problem with everything now, is you need lore. There needs to be like heavy lore, and then if you have a crew, there's even more lore. Look, I'm not going to weigh you down with all of my hip-hop musings. We got to get into the show. I'm back, baby. Are you excited? Do you like this show? Listen, can we have a gentleman's agreement? Really quick, just me and you. If you've listened to more than one of my episodes, please subscribe, and then comment wherever you're listening, gentleman's agreement when you do. I would greatly appreciate this. We don't make money. We don't really, we support the community by putting on local advertisers. We don't have a Patreon. But I will say this is all a backdoor, literally and figuratively, to my OnlyFans career. That's what this is all about. That's where this is all going. Because for whatever reason, your old pal Jerry is now a gay icon. That's right. I'm not even, listen, we can all dispute this. It is what it is. I have a fantastic following of people, but yo, there are a lot of men in my DMs, and I'm thinking that this whole thing has led to the OnlyFans, because it's the only way I'm going to make money is by showing my butthole. That's where we're at. I'm sorry. I wish things were different. I wish that my dad was the head writer for David Letterman. I wish a lot of things, but unfortunately, here we are. And I mean, you're here too, so I appreciate that, obviously. But we really need to take this to the next level. You know what I hate? I just want to say this really quick. I hate people, especially the YouTubers. It's always smash that like button and subscribe. Like, I feel like there's an inflection and a style that people are so conditioned. There's no originality. It's very much like they talk a certain way. New Spider-Man came out. How is it? Is it whack? It's even the thumbnail, Spidey's final move. And it's just to draw you in. It's very deceptive. But one thing I will say about YouTube that they recently started doing was they will not be paying out for AI content. You have to have original content with a human being. They've probably got the sickest computers. They've got like a computer that could hack Godzilla's brain. They've just got like these insane systems. So shout out to YouTube for that. You can find us on YouTube. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. With that being said, we've had some time off, and I have enjoyed my time off. It has been fantastic. Pete's got Deathgasm going and 20 other projects. So we're always happy to be expanding our little family and our little universe. You know, some of you are really into the deep lore that we've created with this show. Let's get back into my life a little bit. I want to say like a few weeks ago, I was driving down the road, and I drive like your grandpa drives, okay? Like, I'm in no rush. I generally take it easy unless I put on that Fast and Furious soundtrack. Ooh, then I get crazy. Put that Ja Rule on. You know, Ja Rule had a clique. The Murderers, whatever happened to those guys? I wonder. I'm driving down the road, just being all casual and shit. This guy cuts me off. Brand new black Audi, everything blacked out, the rims, the whole thing. He tries to pull out in front of me. And again, this is all like at 10 miles an hour. People in New York drive really offensively. Like, when you get in the car, it is literally a fucking Mad Max movie. I'm just waiting for some guy with a hockey mask to show up. It's insane. I get out of the car. Now, I shouldn't do this. Listen, I did not keep my cool. That's going to be important for later in the episode. But I did not keep my cool, and I got out of the car. And of course, I did like the, what's up, bro? What's going on? So out of this car gets a man who is he's a Samoan man, and he's the exact same size and build as me. And we're dressed similarly. And it's almost as if this was like, you know, like when you play a Street Fighter game and you select the doppelganger of Guile, it's just the color is slightly off. You know, you pick Spider-Man and it's just a blue Spider-Man. That was this guy was my Street Fighter variant. So I get out, and he's like, what the fuck you gonna do? And I'm like, what are you gonna do? And then I realized these are both two men over the age of 40, and we're really doing this, and we're holding up traffic, and it was totally a thing. And we start sizing each other up, and I feel like sometimes with men, there's like an unspoken language that occurs, and I think we were both like, fuck, I don't want to fight this guy. And the other dude was like, yeah, I don't want to do that either. I got shit to do. When you're older, you look at everything as an imposition. You want to go to the drugstore, you go to CVS or whatever it is. It's just an inconvenience. It's not even that the fight means anything. It's just that, oh, this is going to cut into my time and do this. I was like, listen, man, I'm like, you got a really nice car and I don't want to fuck it up. And he's like, thank you. He's like, I just got this. And I'm like, yeah, man. I'm like, you know, that's a crazy car. So then we start talking. And I have an Undertaker shirt on, which is completely on brand for me. And he's like, man, I was like, I love the Undertaker. And we start talking. And I've seen, listen, we dap it up. We whatever. I see this guy all the time now. And I made a friend. And now me and this dude, like I see him at Target and shit. And he's like, yo, what's up? The point of my story is I could have given in to my lesser impulses and we could have scuffled it out and seen what happens. But I'm a 46-year-old man. And that just isn't in the game plan now. It would have been an imposition and an inconvenience on my day to scrap it out with this big Samoan dude. You know, shout out to Dave. Maybe you'll listen to the show too. I hope I'm not asking too much. You have to let cooler heads prevail. You might get pissed off or whatever, but I've been doing this thing recently where I get the road rage and I'm driving, and then I make up a funny story in my head about the person. I see like a woman, you know, she's whatever, she's like 30 years old. And I start thinking like, she's got hepatitis and she gave it to her husband and all of her friends. And then everybody's got hepatitis because of this woman. And it was in the potato salad. And it was, so I create these whole stories and then I'm just giggling. I'm like, just giggling to myself. And that really seems to take the pressure off because listen, there's no shortage of weirdos and crazy people. It's like the old Dave Chappelle skit where it's like, when keeping it real goes wrong, it can go definitely wrong. Because I could have gotten out of that car and that dude could have been like Bruce Lee and just whooped my ass uncontrollably. It just made me vomit on my shirt. It would have been terrible. That would have been an imposition and an inconvenience to my day. Straight up. I'm really glad that it worked out and I made a new friend. And that's what life is all about, right? You get into arguments with people. It's so stupid. It's so trivial. You and that person have more in common than you have not in common, okay? A lot of times you think to yourself, oh, like you assume things. And that's really the problem with this country as a whole. There's so much division politically and agenda-wise. And at the end of the day, we're all just people and we want the same things. The guy who's a conservative and the guy who's a liberal, they both want good things for their kids. They're both raising children and they want good things. Maybe you see your neighbor and they've got some signs outside or they've got a bumper sticker. Put all that shit aside. Because here's the thing. I follow people on social media and they complain about things all fucking day, whether they're left or right or this or that. Touch grass, man. What are we even doing at this point? Because networking is so much more powerful than bashing someone's opinion. You can do whatever you want. You could be in the comments and be all spicy. And liberals like to be right. Liberals like to be like, no, actually, because they think that the right is misinformed, but sometimes they are, and vice versa. When it comes down to it, it doesn't matter. Those flame wars that occur online, seriously, just stop bitching about stuff online. I always tell people, listen, you want to do something? Go to the local animal shelter. Go help some animals. Go to your local retirement community, the old folks' home, volunteer. Go read to them. Big brothers, big sisters, go be a mentor to a young person. Because sitting online, A, it's not healthy, and B, it's not productive. So collectively, I will tell you left, right, in between, shut the fuck up and try to make your community better. It doesn't matter anymore. We're all so divided that we've lost sight of what truly does matter. None of it does, because we're all going to go to the same place. Whether you believe in God, whether you believe in Vishnu, Buddha, we're all going to die. In all seriousness, though, we just try to make a quality show, and it's not always easy because we are middle-aged men, and we have so much going on in our lives and other creative pursuits that I'm just very grateful Producer Pete and I are able to bring you this show, and I hope you enjoy it. With that being said, today's movie is Anthony Bourdain's favorite film. The late, great Anthony Bourdain, rest in peace, shout out to him. This was his favorite movie. It's one of my favorite movies. It might be on my top 10, top 15. I mean, aside from RoboCop, Kickboxer, and Boogie Nights. I think that's my rotating top 3 movies, and people are just like, what? Yeah, you can go to my letterbox right now. Don't forget, it's at Jerry Horror. Hey, if you're on social media, it's at Jerry Horror everywhere. Literally everywhere. We even have an X account. We hate to support the evil people that are behind it, but follow at The Offering with JH. That's me, Jerry Horror, or at Jerry Horror on any social media network. We are here to please, and we might have answers. Coming up after the break, get ready, buckle up, because we're taking you to the Double Deuce. Keith David is in this movie. Literally, when Patrick Swayze goes into the Double Deuce, and Pete and I are pontificating about what that means. Does it mean like, I don't give two shits? Or does it mean like the 22, like in your bootstrap? I don't know. It is what it is. Keith David takes some money. He's the cashier. He's the bartender. And that's it. And Keith David's like a big guy. Like Keith David, we know and They Live, he can fight. It's like, what happened? So now, we'll get into it in a little while, but there was a lot of this movie that got cut down. Keith David's name is like fourth in the credits. So it means that he had to have had some kind of significant part in this film, and he's just not in it. And I can't figure it out. And it's led me to believe that somewhere on the cutting room floor, there was a complete subplot with Keith David, and they were just like, we got to cut that out. Okay, before I get even more ignorant, the tagline for this film was, "The dancing's over, now it's time to get dirty." And we all know what that's referencing, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The director was Rowdy Herrington. The release date was May 19th, 1989, and the budget was reportedly a cool $15 million. Now, wouldn't be an episode of The Offering if I didn't tell you my favorite line in the entire film, and this is from our main character, our hero, our protagonist, Dalton. All you have to do is follow 3 simple rules. 1, never underestimate your opponent. Expect the unexpected. 2, take it outside. Never start anything inside the bar unless it's absolutely necessary. And 3, be nice.
Can I buy you guys a drink? Guess not.
Patrick Swayze is
Dalton.
I thought you'd be bigger.
Opinions vary.
When he's around, anything can happen,
How does a guy like you end up a bouncer?
Just lucky, I guess.
and usually does.
If somebody gets in your face, I want you to be nice.
Don't be rude.
Ask him to walk, but be nice.
Help this gentleman to the door.
Until it's time to not be nice.
So says the fighting philosopher.
He may be hard to handle,
I keep talking, you're gonna go off thinking I'm a nice guy.
I know you're not a nice guy.
but he's easy to like.
What's the matter, Dalton? Don't you like women?
The worst I ever had was wonderful.
He's not what you'd expect.
I thought you'd be bigger.
But there's one thing you can count on. He's the best friend a good time ever had.
You guys tired?
Doc, I'll get all the sleep I need and I'm dead.
This is my town. I'm not afraid of him.
I guess you'll be having that fire sale now, all right? You got your hands full, kid.
I just think I'm looking at a dead man.
Patrick Swayze,
For that line of work, I thought you'd be bigger.
Gee, I've never heard that before.
Roadhouse.
Now, you ask anybody who's been a bouncer or a cooler, I should explain what a cooler is. With card sharks and stuff, coolers like different. That's like somebody they plant to like cool down the card game, you know, just throw out bullshit hands, especially with stuff like poker. But a cooler is the head bouncer. And the cooler's job is to make sure that things don't get too hot. So he's watching, what he's watching is he's watching everything. He's the eye in the sky. Hey, let's say something gets a little too heated. Okay, let's take this out of the bar. Let's take it to the back. The cooler just keeps everything flowing. And it's an art form. It's an absolute art form. For many years, I bounced. And it is an unenviable task, but I love the cash. At the end of the night, it's a decent paycheck that you're probably not going to make anywhere else. And a lot of the times, knock on wood, God willing, you're just sitting around staring at pretty girls. There is an art to bouncing in itself. Okay, so you're bouncing at a bar and there's loud music. You got a band, you got a DJ, and the worst one is the mega clubs because it's dark and then you've got laser lights and strobes. You can't keep track of what's going on, so you really have to lock in. And in some cases, with those mega clubs, it got to the point where there would be an eye in the sky. There would be camera systems and somebody would be watching it. And they'd be watching everything in night vision. And it was absolutely terrifying because you'd have earpieces in and it would say, guy, red hoodie over there, grab me, selling drugs or whatever, throw them out. I had a couple of situations like that. It was very difficult to work like that. But most of the time, you're reading body language. You're reading vibes. And after a while, it becomes second nature. It becomes your survival instinct. And a lot of times for me, I've been able to read the room, read a situation, read the vibes, and I kind of know what's coming. Sometimes I can see it coming before it's coming. It's like a superpower. But what it really is the nonverbal form of communication that we are all guilty of. We all do it. So there's tells. They say, like in cards, there's tells, like, oh, he's got to tell every time he's going to, royal flush, he does this, he pulls at his ear. That is definitely true. Let's get this popping. Are you ready? We're ready. After Patrick Swayze read the script and he figured out that he was doing his own stunts, he came to a conclusion. And Patrick Swayze once commented that during production, he wasn't sure if he would live through the making of this movie. Mainly because Swayze hurt his knee really bad during Dirty Dancing. In fact, because of the choreography, and the whole thing was Dirty Dancing was like a low-budget movie. So they had to do everything very fast. And what happens is, and you'll learn this with stunts, with dancing, with anything physical, if you do it fast, there's a bigger risk of injury. You play fast and loose with stunts, people get killed. So basically, what happens is, Swayze's like, all right, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it, and I want to do all of my own stunts. Even before Swayze reads the script, Swayze's people, his manager was like, listen, Dirty Dancing performed very well with women. For the most part, they feel like the male audience at that time in the 80s was not aware of who Patrick Swayze was. He was just some guy, Johnny Castle in Dirty Dancing that their girlfriend dragged them to. Things were a lot different in the 80s, so they're like, we got to have one for the fellas. We got to put this guy in a movie. His team was looking for something. He had his brother, Don Swayze, the infamous Don Swayze, was reading scripts, just going through things, and they came upon Roundhouse, and they were like, this is it. If you're going to pull men in, this is the movie. I would also like to preface this with, after the 5-day-long shooting, fighting Marshall R. Teague, Patrick Swayze needed 2.5 ounces of fluid drained from his left knee. And he knew. He banged that knee up, and he knew that this was going to be a problem. He had apparently been suffering through knee problems before, and he needed a similar procedure to get him through the last few days of Dirty Dancing. One thing was very certain about Roundhouse early on. It was going to hurt, and it was going to hurt everyone. Listen, this movie's got it all. Barroom brawls, boobs, and even a monster truck. It is so unhinged. They can't make a movie like this. And they did remake it, and there was a sequel, but we'll get to that later. According to Sam Elliott, all of the actors did their own stunts. I fucking got the shit kicked out of me for the entire film. Now, Sam Elliott's a tough guy, did a lot of cowboy movies, but he said, after what Swayze went through, it was insane. I think if a studio had been more hands-on with this movie, they would have said no. They would have been like, you can't do this, you can't. But Swayze insisted. He's like, it's got to be for real. If this is it's the movie, it's Roundhouse. If they don't believe that I'm doing it, it won't work. They were all trained by one of my heroes, Benny the Jet Urquidez. He's a holder of 9 black belts in all different disciplines. Urquidez was a professional kickboxer. He was really trying to revolutionize the sport, along with Chuck Norris and Bill Wallace in the 80s. There was a point where they thought that kickboxing would be like the new baseball. That was the whole sell. It was like, everybody's going to watch it. It's going to be amazing. It's going to change your life, man. I mean, they thought the same thing in the 70s with High Lie. I think that had to do with cocaine money. It was like all people in Miami, like upper crust people, who were convinced that High Lie was going to be the new football. Neither of them took off. Kickboxing had mild success, kind of floundered through the 80s, giving birth in the early 90s of UFC, and well, here we are. The victors write the history books, not the people who lost. Listen, Urquidez, go look up Benny the Jet Urquidez. Go look up Wheels on Meals with Jackie Chan. He has a couple of movies where he fights Jackie Chan, and he is just, they call him the Jet because he is nasty. He is just up in the air. He's doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Shout out to Benny the Jet Urquidez, who still owns a gym in Los Angeles. He's still working on stunts, still training people. He's out there. So Urquidez believed so much in Patrick Swayze's abilities that he suggested Swayze become a kickboxer. Of course, being a man in his 30s at that point and just wanting to make movies, he's like, Benny, I appreciate your belief in me. He goes, but I am not going to become a kickboxer. Unfortunately, Swayze stuck to making films and never stepped in the ring. Now, check this out. Due to the injury sustained on this film, quite a few things would change in Swayze's career. This is important. I'm prefacing. I'm table setting. Patrick Swayze had hurt his knee during this movie, as similarly done in Dirty Dancing. So he had to make a choice. My next movie can't be nothing physical. So he decides to make Ghost, made in 1990 with opposite Demi Moore. What's crazy about Ghost is I saw it for the first time this year. I had never seen it, and they did the 4K restoration of it, and I got to see it. It was fantastic. I cried. Whoopi Goldberg, great, 10 out of 10, 5 stars, no notes. Fantastic film. It was great. And now, with Swayze having passed, it's even more. It's like, oh, fuck, it gets you, man. Listen, I am so glad. There was like a couple next to me to the left of me. I was fucking bawling. I was like, no, Patrick. It was amazing. Amazing. Fantastic experience. That 4K restoration looks incredible. That was kind of like a Paramount home entertainment invite, so I kind of appreciate that. Yeah, I get invited to old movies. Ghost was written as a comedy. A lot of people, that's a Jerry Zucker joint. Zucker, famous from, Airplane, Naked Gun, the Zucker brothers. If you watch Ghost now, I started dissecting the plot, and I'm like, oh, I get it. Like, this totally could be a comedy. Think about Ghost, and you put Jim Carrey in Ghost. Different movie. It's a totally different movie, but it works. So the framework of the comedy was still there. The only elements that they left in Ghost that were comedic was Whoopi Goldberg, and that was because she insisted. She's like, you need levity in this movie. She said, Jerry, you need to put some comedy in here. It's a little too dark. She didn't say that to me. She said, Jerry Zucker, director. And she was right. She was absolutely right because she won Best Supporting Actress that year. Well, it was the next year. It was 91 she won. So he decides to make Ghost because it's going to be less strenuous. What were the roles that he turned down? Oh, you better buckle up for this one. He was supposed to be Gabriel Cash in Tango and Cash. He would have played the Kurt Russell part. And I got to say, Kurt Russell's perfect in that movie. Stallone is up his own ass. And I will argue that Tango and Cash is probably one of the last great action movies of the 80s. It was actually one of the last, it was released like December 20-something of 1989. So it was like the last really over-the-top, mostly made with producers on cocaine type of movie of the 80s. He turns it down. Rumor, allegedly, as we like to say on The Offering, he met with Stallone and he's like, what the fuck is with this guy? He's like, he's crazy. So he thought to himself, do I really want to spend the next year of my life with Sylvester Stallone? And that was an obvious no, but also doing all the stunts. I think Kurt Russell is definitely an upgrade from Swayze. I mean, I love Patrick Swayze, but I think it's a different energy that he brings. Originally, the part of Mike Harrigan for Predator 2, that was as the Danny Glover vehicle, that was supposed to be a Swayze movie. They wrote, that part was specifically written for Patrick Swayze. Yeah, and it's insane because Predator 2 was like a go film. Like 20th Century Fox was like, we need to shoot this immediately. And they went down the list. After Swayze dropped out, they went through a whole list of guys. Like, can we get Bruce Willis? Like, we can't get Bruce Willis. Like, they went through a whole litany of gentlemen. And then Danny Glover was available because they were going to make a Lethal Weapon 3, but that got put on hold by Warner Brothers. And eventually he secures the part for Predator 2. And they're like, oh, Danny Glover's big. People know him from Lethal Weapon. He's kind of an action guy. It'll work. What's crazy is Warner Brothers delayed Lethal Weapon 3. And ultimately that was a mistake because they go on to make Lethal Weapon 3. Well, here's what happens. The year that came out, once it was like 92, 93, they had this problem. And the problem was Warner Brothers looks at their summer slate and they're like, fuck, this is fucked. They're like, we got nothing. We don't have a big summer tentpole movie. They rushed into production for Lethal Weapon 3. It was literally made on like Band-Aids and popsicle sticks. They just threw money at that production because like, can you shoot it in 3 months and have it ready for the summer season? And Dick Donner, rest in peace, being the professional that he was like, yes, we can, I've worked with Danny, I've worked with Mel, we can make this work. What happens, though, the original villain for Lethal Weapon 3 was Robert De Niro. De Niro pulled out because he finally got the financing for A Bronx Tale, which he directed. And he's like, listen, I've been waiting my whole life to make this movie, and it was kind of like, do Lethal Weapon or do your own thing. And I think it was his time. You know, he wanted to direct, he wanted to do some different things. But I'm like, God damn, the problem with Lethal Weapon 3, not only is it a weak script, but the problem is they just cast this, he's like a nothing. He's like a British actor. He sucks. He's terrible. He's just not good. It doesn't make sense. And I'm like, man, wasn't a great script to begin with, but you put De Niro in that movie and it takes it to another level. You're like, oh, this guy could be an ex-cop who's crazy and killing other cops, and better movie. I'm sorry. I got distracted. So during the initial week of filming, Patrick Swayze had quite the number of female fans that kept trying to rush the set of the Double Deuce, which is the fictional bar in the film that Swayze has been sent to clean up. It got terrible. By the second day of filming, after they had 3 women, not 1, not 2, 3 women, one of them was cast as an extra. They're shooting the scene, it's a bar scene or whatever. The extra runs up to him, hugs him, and starts kissing him. They're like, yo, we cannot do this. So by the second day of filming, the producers are like, this is a big problem. We lost like a whole bunch of setups yesterday because of these women rushing you. They gave Swayze 3 guys from the Los Angeles area that were bouncers, these big burly dudes, and they were with Swayze every day until the end of production for the film. In fact, Roundhouse was a direct response to Dirty Dancing. Swayze's agent realized, hey, listen, this guy, he's endearing to female audiences, but we put him into this, and we're going to be able to get a whole new audience. Oh, and the return of one of our favorite ongoing characters and stories, Joel Silver, producer of Xanadu. Sick plug. Go listen to that episode. Joel Silver, who you might remember for his wacky antics, such as locking a writer in a room with cocaine and forcing him to write the screenplay for Xanadu. He came up with some of the most outrageous lines in the movie. Quite a few memorable ones. Are you ready for this? Producer Joel Silver would visit the set and just suggest these wacky lines. And he says, like right in the beginning, the bad guy Jimmy, he says, I used to fuck guys like you in prison. That came from Joel Silver's brain and mouth. So there's like a whole bunch of these weirdo lines in this movie, just stuff about boobs and things like that. And that was all Joel Silver. This film has quite the pedigree, obviously, because it's shot by cinematographer Dean Cundey, who you might know from Halloween, Jurassic Park, and like every other movie like Casper the Ghost. This guy did everything. He had just come off of working with Robert Zemeckis on Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Obviously, Who Framed Roger Rabbit was an impossibly hard film to make because they had to match the live action actors with the animation. It ended up being very taxing on Cundey. Roger Rabbit was a work of passion, obviously, but it really took the piss out of the whole crew, especially Bob Hoskins. By the end of that movie, he was basically a drunk, which happened on Super Mario Brothers. I don't know, he might have just been an alcoholic, allegedly. So Cundey says, listen, if I'm going to do another movie, I really dig this Roundhouse script because it feels like a Western. Those are the kind of films that I grew up with. There's no gangster weasels or dancing babies. He's like, this is going to be a lot easier. So they get Cundey. He's amazing. He's shot so many movies. Look up Dean Cundey. Blow your mind. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Because this movie, now it goes up a notch. Now the quality of Roundhouse has already elevated. This is crazy. I didn't even know this until earlier this year. There is shockingly a director's cut of this film, and it ran 2 hours and 30 minutes. So the studio at the time sees this, and they say, absolutely not. There is no way that our summer action film is going to be 2 hours and 30 minutes. You cannot do this. So they brought the film back to director Rowdy Harrington. He went in there with Swayze, and they cut it down to a lean hour and 54 minutes. And I'll be honest with you, it probably works better as an hour and 54 minute picture than a 2 hour and 30 minute movie. I think that's just, for a story about a bouncer who cleans up a town, come on, what are we doing here? This doesn't need to be it would be taking Roundhouse and making an 8-episode Netflix prestige series. That's just stupid. I want to get into this too. Listen, you know the movie. You know all the iconic lines. You know all the great stuff. You know the throat rip. I don't need to get into that. All right? Let's get into this. Upon the release in the U.S. theaters, which was May 19th, 1989, this is United Artists was putting this flick out, Roadhouse earned $61 million on a $15 million budget. It received mostly negative reviews from critics, lamented its excessive violence and sleaziness, and expressed incredulity at Swayze's character. I personally think that makes it a classic. I like the sleaziness. They would not make a movie like this nowadays. They didn't. We'll get to that. Roger Ebert gave the film thumbs up and said it was one of the best bad movies ever made. Now, obviously, in the years since it was released, it went on to achieve cult status. Roadhouse ended up being an even bigger hit on home video. Now, this is going to blow your mind. For me, this was an absolute game changer of a fact. In 1989, the number one VHS movie put out was Batman. Number 2 was Roadhouse. Because they found all the women that liked Swayze bought the movie. They were like, like they had to put it next to Dirty Dancing. What I think really helped Roadhouse, though, they had numerous. And when I mean numerous, it's a cable channel named TBS. If you remember this is to all the people that are a little older, the before times. And the Turner broadcast system would further cement the cult status of this film. It was heavily played on their block of movies for guys who like movies. And they used to have the trailer, and it would show Seagal, Van Damme, and you'd always watch them oh man, it's Roadhouse. I really wish I was watching Roadhouse right now. So, we need to talk about the terrible direct-to-video sequel, Roadhouse 2, Last Call. This movie sucks. I went back, I watched it. You can still get it on DVD. The events of the plot explore the career of James Dalton's son, which is played by Jonathan Sheck. You might remember him from That Thing You Do. He's still doing tough guy roles. He's a great martial artist. If you see the guy move, he's great. He's named Shane Tanner because of course he is. Shane Tanner sounds like the most generic white guy movie. Oh Jesus. He's got to protect the Louisiana bar from criminals. And there's also a subplot about Dalton being murdered and his son sort of investigating this. First off, you kill Swayze's character off screen. That's a mistake. At least say my daddy disappeared. Some bullshit. Jake Busey plays the titular villain, and shockingly, he's the best part of the movie. Because everybody else is just on autopilot. They're on airplane mode. And Busey is he's at a 10. Much like his dad. He's just cracked out, and it totally works. Now, this was a direct-to-video cash-in put out by Sony Pictures because they had the Roadhouse rights. They just kept selling the Blu-ray and the DVD for so many years, and the VHS tapes, obviously. They're like, listen, we need to make a movie. We need to make a sequel to Roadhouse. Now, rather than saying, hey, let's get Swayze, let's do this. Because the way you do a Roadhouse sequel at that time with Swayze still being in the present world would have been Swayze's son is a bouncer, and then he comes in as the Sam Elliott, the older mentor is like, no, son, this is how you got to do this. And then he steals your girl. And you're like, oh, man. Roadhouse 2, Last Call, which they really had to add that subtitle. Jesus. It's 86 minutes, largely forgettable. At this point, it's like a curiosity. Recently we did the bite-size offerings, which you can find on YouTube, and you can find them on TikTok. We did one on Time Cop recently, and there was the direct-to-video Time Cop sequel, Time Cop 2, The Berlin Experiment. It's Jason Scott Lee as the titular Time Cop, and Thomas Ian Griffith as the bad guy. They have a really good fight at the end of the movie, but other than that, it's just not worth your time. This was another one. This is probably the most amazing part of this entire episode. Check this out. There was a bizarre stage play version of Roadhouse, written and directed by Timothy Haskell as an off-Broadway play adaptation of the original movie, starring, are you ready for this? Like you get the drums or whatever. Timac Guerrero. Now, who is Timac? I'm not even saying his name right. There's a lot of people who can't say Timac. Timac was the lead in The Last Dragon. Now, the reason this is funny is because Timac is, in fact, a black gentleman. Now, I heard, and there are pictures online, it's Timac in a really terrible blonde mullet wig, and I'm kind of like, holy shit, how did I miss this? So, this show debuted on October 30th, 2003, It was in the circuit known as the Lower East Side. Positive reviews resulted in a production earning the residency at Latia, which was another theater that's now extinct, from December 14th, 2003 to February 8th, 2004, eventually ending up at the Barrow Street Theater. Additional performances were created at other venues because people had heard of the whole thing with Timock wearing this goofy wig, and there's musical numbers, and it's just, I've heard it's hysterical. Nothing really exists. There's some video footage of it, but when you see the pictures of Timock in that blonde mullet wig, you're like, I'm going to see this. Take my money, I'm fucking sold. The creator of this, stating, "This was not a musical, we're calling it a brawlsicle. Trust me, I know what kind of film this is. I want you to get to the bottom of why so many seemingly smart people can quote lines from this stupid movie." Early reviews categorized the satire stage play as a fightsicle. Comedically, the official title of the production was, bear with me folks, Roundhouse, the stage version of the cinema classic that starred Patrick Swayze, except this one stars Timock from the 80s cult classic The Last Dragon wearing a blonde mullet wig. This was on the playbill. That was the official title of the stage play. How did I go all these years not knowing? And I love The Last Dragon. Sony owns The Last Dragon. They just came out with a 4K. This fall, they're going to be doing screenings of it, various events throughout big theaters. It's like one of those movies that Sony has probably sat on for so long now, and it does well. Listen, I'm buying the 4K. I'm a sucker. I've bought it on every medium. I've had it on VHS. I've had it on DVD. They have to be sitting around saying, like, how do we reinvent this? And here's the answer to your question, Sony Pictures. You don't. Because The Last Dragon is a film that is so cemented in the 80s. You've got breakdancing. Like, it's funny. You rewatch it and you're like, oh, man, is this going to be, like, really embarrassing because of, like, the whole, like, weird aping Asian culture type of thing? And no, it's completely respectful. It's the same thing. Gung Ho. Shout out to Kino Lorber. They're bringing out Gung Ho. And I really wanted to watch. The late George Wendt is in there. Really good. We love him. Michael Keaton, of course. And I'm like, oh no, I love this movie as a kid. Is it going to be like totally problematic and like racist? No, it's not. It's incredibly respectful of the Japanese culture, and there's no bullshit. It's a Ron Howard movie. And I'm like, good on you. Because that's the problem with a lot of these movies. You go back and you're like, oh man, we used to love this. There's a warning now in front of Rush Hour. When they put Rush Hour, it's like, listen, we all love our buddy cop movies, but there's a lot of things that are not politically correct about this film. And it was made in a different time. Rush Hour was made in 1999. Listen, it's not like this is a fucking Charlie Chan movie starring a white actor playing an Asian person. Like, it's not even like that. It's just that some of the interplay between Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan from that first film, it's fucking wildly offensive. Like that's the only way I can put it. And that's for me. I mean, I can't even imagine people who are like really, like, hey, you can't do that anymore.
We'll be right back with more of The Offering with Jerry Horror.
Now available in paperback, hardcover, and ebook. Icons of Fright. 100 interviews with legendary horror filmmakers. You can now own the greatest collection of horror interviews ever assembled. From the Universal monsters to modern-day meta, there's something here for every horror fan to sink their fangs into. Icons of Fright. 100 interviews with legendary horror filmmakers. Available now on Amazon from Harker Press.
Orlando, beware. There's a place where your wallet screams louder than you do in a haunted house. It's called Atomic Horror, home of Monster Mart. This isn't just a store, it's a year-round horror carnival packed wall-to-wall with the creepy, the kooky, and the downright spooky. Step inside, you'll be surrounded by a horde of ghouls, goblins, and goodies that will make your horror heart skip a beat. It's basically a monster mall for the macabre. Located at 4805 East Colonial Drive in Orlando, open 11 to 7 daily. If you can't get to Florida, don't fear, you can still shop the nightmare at atomichorror.com. Oh, and don't miss the Atomic live stream every first and third Sunday. It's like shopping with a seance, except the spirits actually ship to your door. So what are you waiting for? Your nightmares have been waiting for you. Atomic Horror, where shopping is a scream. Listeners and fans of The Offering can get their hands on their very own The Offering with Jerry Horror merch, now only at TeePublic. Find your own fresh The Offering with Jerry Horror high-quality merchandise, including t-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, long sleeves, stickers, and mugs. Just like the show, we've got gear that's mostly horror, always genre. The Offering with Jerry Horror TeePublic store has everything you need to represent your favorite podcast. Folks, head on over to teepublic.com right now and pick up your very own Offering tee today. You're listening to The Offering with Jerry Horror. Got a question or a story you want to share with me? It might be featured in a future episode. Email me at jerryhorror@gmail.com or hit me up on Twitter at jerryhorror. I'm also on Instagram. You can find me there at jerryhorror. Rate and review this show on Apple Podcast, and you might find your review in an upcoming episode. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to The Offering. Now back to the show. I guess we need to get to this piece of business, because this is insane. So they're like, listen, we're going to remake Roadhouse. And of course, when I first heard this news, I clutched my pearls and said, God, no, how can you do that? Because Roadhouse is such a specific, it's the best B picture ever made. It has a cult. It's the bouncer's Bible. You talk to any bouncer, everybody knows Roadhouse. And they can quote, like verbatim, they can quote the lines. And it became this thing where it was like every once in a while, if you're working a big event with a bunch of other bouncers or coolers, everybody would they would drop the line. You know, we used to have this guy, he worked at a place called the Crazy Donkey. Shout out to the Crazy Donkey, he was in Farmingdale, Long Island. And he was an older guy. And this guy was about 60 years old and he was still bouncing. And usually for bouncers, there's a short shelf life. You see the Sam Elliott character in Roadhouse and you're like, oh, come on, this guy's still bouncing. And like, yeah, because there's dudes that are just, they never moved on and they're good at it. They're really good. But we used to have this guy, he was like 64 years old and he was a mean old bastard. I think one leg he had was like a wood leg. He would stand at the end of the bar and this guy was tough as shit. I watched him knock people out. It was insane. This guy had hands. He never said shit. He was always grumpy, always in a bad mood. He would just sit there. He would drink his ginger ale, wouldn't talk to anybody. And then one night after the place closed, he just started quoting the lines from Roadhouse. And I was like, this guy's cool as shit, because it was an acknowledgement that this movie had crossed over into some weird pop culture zeitgeist where you have this character. And this is why the movie works. This is why Roadhouse works. Because Patrick Swayze has a degree from NYU in philosophy. It is so like 80s batshit bonkers that would even be in a screenplay. And that's why it works, because it's so ridiculous. And we're still quoting it. So there's something special about this film. The director, Rowdy Herrington, we didn't really get into this, but before we get to the remake, Rowdy Herrington, obviously, the man was destined to make a movie like this. I feel like certain directors were put on Earth to make one great film. And listen, it's like Ivan Reitman. He was put on Earth to make Ghostbusters. Robert Zemeckis was put on Earth to make Back to the Future. Paul Verhoeven put on Earth to make RoboCop. Rowdy Herrington, this was his destiny. He had done so many different things. He was like a camera operator on Growing Pains. He really rose up. He's a writer. He did cinematography. But Roadhouse is like the best movie he made. There's some other stuff. He did some like TV movies. Gladiator is good. Gladiator is the movie he follows this up with, and that's with Cuba Gooding Jr., Brian Dennehy. Gladiator holds up, but I will tell you the reason there's probably no Blu-ray or 4K release of it, Gladiator is wildly problematic. There is a Latino character in that film that is almost embarrassing. You're just like, oh man, I hope nobody Latino watches this movie, because they're just going to be like, this is incredibly offensive. So yeah, there's some things that just don't work, and there's some things about the black culture with that film that don't work, but you hired Rowdy Herrington. I think the name says it all. After that, they gave him carte blanche. I think it was Touchstone Pictures. He did Striking Distance with Bruce Willis. I like Striking Distance. Striking Distance is a weird movie because not only does Bruce Willis have this terrible wig, now I watch it and I'm like, oh, that's a bad wig. Because you start to realize as we've gotten older, you watch these movies from the 90s and you're like, ooh, now that I can see it in crisp, clear 4K, that is a wig. And that is not a part of Bruce Willis's head. That wig probably has a SAG card. Just saying. Sarah Jessica Parker is the love interest in that movie. It's kind of a neo-noir film. It works. Like, if you're sitting home and you can't think of anything to watch and you like Bruce Willis, throw in Striking Distance. It's a definite recommend. So they decide, listen, MGM now owns Roadhouse. Who is MGM owned by? Amazon. The same people who now have control over the James Bond franchise. Let's see how that plays out. Will they put out James Bond theatrically? I hope. They put out the last 2 Daniel Craig movies theatrically. I hope that the next James Bond movie isn't like a direct-to-Amazon Prime streaming film. In November of 2013, MGM began development on the script with Rob Cohen, terrible human being, who you might know from Dragon the Bruce Lee Story and The Fast and the Furious. Go look up Rob Cohen. He is a scumbag. He was supposed to direct the remake of this with Michael Stokes writing. In September 2015, Cohen and Stokes had vacated the project while mixed martial arts fighter Ronda Rousey was cast in the lead role, with filming to begin sometime the next following year. Now, what I'm going to tell you is the Roadhouse remake with Ronda Rousey came like super close. I think it was less than 40 days before they were going to shoot, and they were just like, no, we're not doing this. She didn't want to do it. So if you know Nick Cassavetes, son of Hollywood legend John Cassavetes, you might know him from his appearance, of course, in Face Off, but you also know him from Entourage. He's the one who convinces Vince to do his own stunts. He's the crazy director. Cassavetes is a good director, but he boarded the film as the writer and director, and Cassavetes is a good choice. He's an action guy. And then they put the project on hold, and then COVID happens. Cassavetes is out until November of 2021, where we start filming stuff again, and MGM began yet another attempt. So this all started in 2013, and it permutated all the way to 2021. So Jake Gyllenhaal, obviously, this is insane, because Gyllenhaal had worked with Swayze on Donnie Darko, and there's all these pictures of them. And Gyllenhaal went on record and he's like, he loved Roadhouse as a kid. Like, as you know, Gyllenhaal's about the same age as I am. And he's just like, he would tell Patrick, he's like, listen, he's like, I love Roadhouse. He's like, it's the greatest movie ever. He says, well, maybe someday you can make a Roadhouse of your own. Well, here we are. And he's making a Roadhouse of his own. So they got Doug Liman, who did Go. He also did the Bourne movies. I have my problems with the Bourne movies because I feel like the cinematography early on, the whole thing was, Matt Damon didn't know how to fight. So he's like, all right, how do we cut around this? And that became the whole thing of like, we can make any actor look like a competent martial artist. Of course, they had like Scott Adkins. They had like these amazing other martial artists to pick up the slack and, you know, do the bumps. Jeff Bezos gets wind. Evil supervillain Jeff Bezos, owner of Amazon and Amazon Prime. He gets wind that they're doing Roadhouse. And he's like, listen, we're going to put more money into this. I love Roadhouse. So they got Gyllenhaal, they got Liman directing, and the studio prioritized the film despite Gyllenhaal and Lyman's individual commitments to Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, which I haven't seen, don't have much interest. A search for a new writer began to revise the previous draft because Jeff Bezos was not happy with it. Can you imagine that? This guy's like a billionaire. He's got so many plates spinning, and he's like, no, I'm going to stop everything. I need to get on this Roadhouse remake. I understand that we're trying to buy China, but let me first put my creative input into the remake of the 1989 classic Roadhouse. Eventually, they get Sheldon Turner to rewrite the script. It became a thing because they hired these guys, Chuck Mondry and Sheldon Turner, and their script got destroyed. They had written one in August of 2022. By the time the permutation of the next script, they get ripped out, and the original story writer, David Lee Henry, got the credit. So there was a lot of issues here. there was a couple of lawsuits between the Writers Guild as to who actually wrote the remake script. So I don't know. This is all allegedly. And early on, Amazon gave Gyllenhaal and the filmmakers a choice. The choice being a $60 million production budget and a theatrical release, or an $85 million budget and have the film go straight to streaming. And they decided on the latter. Even though, this is the problem, we usually cover movies that are older on The Offering, and a lot of times when we do that, the dirt comes out. But because this is so fresh, everything is on the allegedly. But Doug Liman tried to sue MGM, and Jake Gyllenhaal got involved, and I think he was punching above his weight class, no pun intended, and they were like, no, we're not gonna pursue this. But Liman tried to sue Bezos and MGM and the whole thing, because what ends up happening is they release it straight to Prime. And I'm such a nerd that I stood up and I was like, oh, at 2 a.m. it's coming on Prime. So I stayed up that night just so I could see it as quick as possible. This is so weird. Now, the project officially was greenlit in August of 2022. MGM had obviously been purchased, so there's a lot of shakeup going there. I like this movie. Daniela Melchior, she plays the romantic lead. You've got Billy Magnuson is the villain. He works. And as your heavy, you've got Conor McGregor, who absolutely works in this movie. Now, I got to tell you, I really like the Roadhouse remake. The first time I watched it, I was a little in shock because I was like, all right, this is a beloved film. I've gotten to the point where I'm old enough to see these kind of movies get remade. And I didn't want to like it. But I was like, oh, Gyllenhaal is so good. And I think he might be autistic in this movie. It's like this weird thing that he's present and not present. I'm not sure if he's supposed to be punch drunk, but I don't know. It all kind of works, and I really like it. So I've watched this movie like probably 3 or 4 times since the first one. So I've watched it like 5 times. I fucking love the remake of Roadhouse. Here's the thing. I think there's a knee-jerk reaction when you grow up with something. You're like, fuck that, man. They can't remake, Roadhouse. It's a classic, bro. This is gay. Sometimes you hear people like complaining about this. I hear young people. Today I saw a movie in theaters. I won't tell you the name, but I saw a movie in theaters today, and I had kids next to me, and we saw the trailer for what's his face, the Running Man. It's Edgar Wright's The Running Man. And they're like, wasn't that some movie from the 90s, Total Recall? And he's like, no, bro. So I heard like these kids that are like 15 years old arguing about Arnold Schwarzenegger movies and what he's like, isn't this Total Recall? He's like, no, this is The Running Man. And these kids are arguing about this, obviously, as the host of The Offering. I'm ready to go over there and be like, no, you little shits, this is what's really going on. Like, I wanted to get angry, but I'm like, I'm not going to listen to them. So the new Running Man looks good. Glenn Powell, smart guy, did Twisters. He did the sequel to Twisters. He did the sequel to Top Gun. This guy's smart because allegedly he's hooked up with Tom Cruise, and Tom Cruise was like, listen, he's doing the Backdraft remake too. This guy's remaking everything. But you know what? Listen, Anyone But You, I liked it. It was good. I really enjoyed it. Besides the Glenn Powell of it all, I really like this Roadhouse remake. Let me give you a little more backstory. They shot that movie in the Dominican Republic. It takes place in Florida, so it's definitely a different vibe. And in this one, Dalton is not an NYU graduate in philosophy. He is a UFC fighter. And they shot all that stuff. And I got to tell you, Gyllenhaal looks great. In this movie, when he does his training and you see him and he's got his shirt off, he's in fantastic shape. It's insane. But I will also say this. He definitely did some gear. Swayze is in fantastic shape, but Swayze looks like a normal man who's just cut and in good shape. Gyllenhaal is like, I'm pretty convinced he was juiced to the gills to make this movie. Allegedly. There's no allegedly with this one. He's tremendous because you look at Jake Gyllenhaal, you look at Brokeback Mountain, you look at these other movies, he's like a normal guy. He's like a regular guy. Look at that guy. Now he's cut, shredded to the bone, and he's gigantic. And I'm so tired of these fucking YouTube videos where they're like, what did Jake Gyllenhaal do? What did Jakey G do to get in shape for this? And he's like, he did cross. Get the fuck out of here, right? Will everybody just be honest that we're hiring these Hollywood trainers? Chris Hemsworth. Go look at 2014 Chris Hemsworth in the Red Dawn remake, and then look at Chris Hemsworth in Thor, Love and Thunder. come on, man. All these guys are on gear. I can tell you, as someone who's been training for the last 16 months, these guys are all on gear. And look, it's fine. Like, I get it. But there needs to be some kind of transparency, because especially like with young men, young women, they look up to these people and they think that if they buy snake oil X supplement that they're going to get in that shape. And it's really just disingenuous. It's kind of the whole evil thing, because what happens is, can I tell you a little sidebar here? So you're a bodybuilder, you're a fitness guy, and you do a shitload of, testosterone and steroids. And the reason that you do that is to get an endorsement deal for some shit that doesn't really work. And you're like, and I love Ghost Protein, but I'm going to use them as, buy Ghost Protein. It's how I won the 2025 Ironman. No, you didn't. You shot massive amounts of gear. You dieted correctly, and then occasionally use some protein shakes every day. But you didn't. We need to stop this, because the whole fitness industry has become a scam. And that's the whole thing. That's your reward. So you go, you do a bunch of juice, and then you get to sell your own supplements. Or you do like what Chris Bumstead did, and Chris Bumstead has his own brand. He's got the C-Bum, and people love that. It's not bad. I had the protein. I like it, but there is no way that I don't, like, I understand watching Chris Bumstead. If you watch his videos, he's eating until he pukes, and he's probably on a suitcase worth of gear every day. It's insane. But I digress. Roadhouse premiered the remake, Roadhouse 2024, premiered at South by Southwest March 8th, 2024 as the opening night film. And they had a tremendous reaction to it. And they said, listen, why can't we just put this in theaters? Like, this was Doug Liman and Jakey G begging Bezos. They're like, please, can we put this in theaters? Bezos turns around, ignores them, and puts it on Prime March 21st of 2024. And this film was supposed to be released as the centennial anniversary of the founding of MGM, which was the 100th anniversary. And it's kind of ridiculous. It's almost like an insult. Well, this is MGM, like, they made The Wizard of Oz and all these incredible films. And it's like, well, we're just going to put this to streaming. And this is the first movie to have the 100th anniversary logo. I guess it tells you how the business changed. The business is obviously with streaming. So the film did get a couple of special theatrical releases at 17 cinemas operated by the Army and Air Force Exchange Service. So I thought that was very nice that they had the 17 different screenings that were just for, the servicemen and women of our country, who we are always grateful for. Thank you for your service. Lyman wrote an editorial piece in Deadline Hollywood criticizing Amazon for bypassing a wide theatrical release when they purchased MGM, and then it had announced that MGM was making $1 billion investment to release 12 to 15 films a year theatrically. He wrote that he would not be in attendance of the South by Southwest screening in protest. Gyllenhaal responded by stating that while he sympathized with Lyman's views, Amazon made it clear that they would have a streaming release for the film. Lyman ultimately did end up appearing at the South by Southwest premiere. On February 27, 2024, hoping to block the film's release, the original screenwriter R. Lance Hill, who made the original 1980 version, sued MGM and Amazon, claiming copyright infringement and accusing the studio of using AI-generated voices of the actors to complete the film during the 2023 SAG-AFTRA strike. So now there's even more dirt about this movie. AI might have been used in post to finish Roadhouse. Look, I don't know how the technology works implicitly. I didn't see a CGI Conor McGregor, so I don't know. But apparently this is going on at studios, and it's becoming more and more of a problem, because rather than pay certain people, whether it's the actors to use their voices or to cut things in, cut things out, they're using AI, and it's happening. And that lawsuit is still going on with the whole SAG-AFTRA thing about films that were completed in the last 2 or 3 years that used AI to finish them. MGM and Amazon launched a countersuit in May of 2024. So this whole thing's a mess, but allegedly everything has been settled out of court. And when things like that happen, it means that both sides were kind of right or kind of wrong. My thinking is, that they did use AI. This is just allegedly, this is in my opinion. In no way do these views represent Jeff Bezos, who will have me murdered if I say anything about this. The guy is like a real life Lex Luthor. I'm pretty sure in that new Superman, that's who Lex Luthor is based on, is Jeff Bezos. I'm pretty sure. Just saying. With all that being said, did AI complete Roadhouse? Maybe. I don't know. I wasn't there. I can't say for certain. So, our story isn't over yet, folks. In March of 2024, Gyllenhaal expressed interest in reprising his starring role and developing a sequel. By May of this year, a sequel was officially announced to be in development with Gyllenhaal reprising the lead role. Amazon MGM studio head Jennifer Salk stated that the project was ongoing at this point. In April of this year, it was reported that Guy Ritchie was in talks to direct the sequel, and he was confirmed to direct later that month with a new screenplay by Will Beall. It keeps going, folks. This story is evolving. There might be addendums to this episode, so if we use AI to finish it, please do not hold anything against us. In June of 2025, Dave Bautista was reported to be offered a role. We didn't know whether that was true, but apparently he's a lock. They're saying that he's going to be the villain for this new movie, which is great. Great way to follow up on Conor McGregor. As of today, this just happened today, Guy Ritchie has exited the film, and a new director, well, at least the search for a new director, will be underway because as of this recording, the film will be shooting in October of 2025. Look, the whole thing is insane. And I can say this, Conor McGregor was in tight with Joel Silver. Joel Silver they threw him off this movie because the whole deal was if they were going to remake Roadhouse, he had proprietary rights to be a producer. So they ended up throwing Joel Silver off the set a few times because he would go down to the set and just start shit. Because here's the thing. When everybody was doing cocaine in 1989, it was okay. You could get away with shit like that. Nowadays, crazy producer coming down to the set, messing with things, you got executives. You got people from the parent company. They're not going to let that shit fly. So now Joel Silver basically took a paycheck from MGM, aka Amazon, that he'll get his money, but he has no interference with the film or say. He just collects a check. So that's their way of Joel Silver proofing the sequel. Jake Gyllenhaal was like, yo, listen, if Joel Silver shows up on this movie, we're not doing it. So, you cater to the star and say, listen, Joel, get the fuck out of here. So that shit might have flew back in the day, but it does not fly anymore. Joel Silver was tight with Conor McGregor. That was one of his things happened. And Conor McGregor works. He's fantastic in this movie. He's like the Ric Flair of today. He's a natural born heel. He can fight. He's got a good screen presence. He's very funny in this movie. He works. But as you know, earlier this year, there were allegedly accusations against Conor McGregor for misuse and abuse of a couple of different women. That came out. So then all of a sudden, even Joel Silver, cocaine-addled producer of the past, was like, I don't want to touch that. So McGregor screwed himself. I don't know allegedly what the accusations, I didn't really look into this because this is a movie podcast. I don't get involved with that shit. But he kind of lost a lot of big deals to that. And now McGregor is over in Ireland and trying to throw people out who are immigrants to the great country of Ireland. I don't know what's going on over there. I don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. I don't need the IRA showing up and hunting down me and producer Pete because we made some kind of a statement against the great nation of Ireland. Stay tuned for more updates because this story is far from over. Are you ready, folks? It's time for my favorite part of the episode, Unhinged Reviews. We got Joe Russo over on Letterboxd, and this is his review. This was from March 5th, 2024. Ripping throats and pounding cunth. Come on. Can you think of a better review? That sums it up. I have no problem with this review. It is succinct. I think that might even be a haiku. Here's another one. So also from Letterboxd. Usually we get all our reviews from Amazon or like various sites where people have bought the DVD, the Blu-ray, But like everything on Amazon is like, this fucking movie rocks. 5 stars, no notes. Everybody loves this movie, so it's hard to find those really unhinged reviews. But here's a good one that producer Pete found. This is by August Natasi from Letterboxd. 2.5 stars. Watched February 1st, 2020. Little did he know what was coming. Jesus, this was probably the best night of his life because the pandemic rolls around like a month. Anyway. Might fuck around and pursue a PhD in philosophy from NYU after watching this. Shouldn't we all? Listen, if I had money, if I had like James Franco, he was just going to school, but we found out that he was just going to school so he could seduce young co-eds. One more unhinged review before we get up out of this mug. 1 out of 10, mindless pap. We had to look up what pap means because we didn't know. So I just want to preface this in order to give you the what it means. Pap, it's a noun. Bland, soft, semi-liquid food that is suitable for babies or invalids. Oof. Similar soft food or mush. 2, I like this. Worthless or trivial reading matter or entertainment. Limitless channels serving up undemanding diet of pap. Well, if there's one movie that is pap, it's Roadhouse. It's sleazy pap, but I love it. So, yeah. So this review, this is by Raph L'Oreal, May 21st, 2005, IMDb. I had this movie inflicted upon me on a coach trip. Must be nice. And I honestly thought I was going mad. The scriptwriter must have slipped into a coma before putting pen to paper. The dialogue was predictable and cliched, and the acting was very poor, and the plot was mind-numbing. The Swayze adds his unique 80s class to the role of protagonist, but even the comedy value didn't redeem this film. I don't know how I managed to miss this movie in the 80s, but I wish I had missed it, and in the double zeros as well. I'm afraid I can't find it myself to write anything good about this stupefying movie. Anyone who likes movies should avoid this one like the plague. Update. Well, unfortunately, folks, we had to create a little bit of an addendum to this episode because the world keeps going, it keeps turning, even when our little podcast doesn't. So some things have happened, some things have transpired in the magical world of Roadhouse. For that matter, Roadhouse 2. No, not the shitty direct-to-video sequel, Roadhouse 2, The Last Call that we talked about. Ooh, that movie's terrible. So there's some things going on. So they started filming the movie. They have Ilya Nashuler is the director who did Hardcore Henry, which is a hard movie to watch. Hardcore Henry is like, it's all shot like first-person video game. Can I be honest, Producer Pete? I got motion sickness. I saw that in the theater, and I was like, yo, I need to go take a walk. So yeah, film really can affect you. He did Heads of State, which I really enjoyed. Heads of State was the recent Amazon film with John Cena and Idris Elba. It was very funny. It has a slow opening. It's slow, but once it gets going and the action and the comedy start going, Idris Elba and John Cena are very funny. And I will tell you, if you haven't seen Heads of State on Amazon, it's a definite recommend. He also made Nobody. Love Nobody. That's a definite recommend. Sequel's great. We got some new casting news. We have Dave Bautista, who is going to be alongside Jake Gyllenhaal, and Aldous Hodge, who I rather enjoy. He played Hawkman in Black Adam. Really liked what he did there. I liked him as Hawkman. I thought he was very good. So glad to see the cast come together and that they're shooting this movie and it's happening. Hopefully they will release this theatrically because like I said about the Roadhouse, this one with Jake Gyllenhaal, I really liked it. I thought it was a great flick. And my biggest problem I had was I would have liked to have seen it in a theater. I think it was very worthy, and I've watched that film time and time again, and I really enjoy it. So Amazon, MGM, whatever the hell the Jeff Bezos Corporation is, make sure you put Roadhouse 2 in theaters. That would be nice. Wait, folks, there's more. This is breaking news. So Doug Liman, who directed the Roadhouse remake, he's making a competing sequel. And the way this works was that different people own the rights to Roadhouse. We're finding out that it's a very messy situation and that there's people who own various parts of it. But what's happened now is one of the producers, he wrote another screenplay, which was a direct sequel to Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. So Doug Liman's screenplay, his alleged new movie, is called Roadhouse 2 Dylan. I don't know who Dylan is. I don't know what it's about. I don't know if it's got the ghost of Sam Elliott. I'm not quite sure. We'll find out. But the lawyers involved said they can't stop this because he does own the intellectual properties to this script, and the way this is a real Friday the 13th situation, and it's looking like he's going forward and they're trying to make Roadhouse 2 Dylan. Obviously, the one with Jake Gyllenhaal is already shooting. I don't know if this is going to happen, but Doug Liman's got a couple of bucks. The producer behind it's got a couple of bucks, and they're going to try to put this movie into action. So we're going to have to stay tuned to see what happens. I really can't, and this is not just like a Dante's Peak Volcano situation or Armageddon and Deep Impact, where there's two studios doing the same thing. Ants and Bug Life is another one. So this is a situation where the director of the original film is basically thumbing his nose at Jeff Bezos and saying, fuck you, we're going to make our own sequel, and it's going to be better than your sequel. But can anything be really better than that cute and hunky Jake Gyllenhaal? I don't think so, but I could be wrong. So, folks, we're just going to have to stay tuned because we don't know what's going to happen at this point, and it looks like this other sequel is going into production as well. So, folks, definitely grab your butts because you're not going to believe this. We might be getting 2 Roadhouse movies next year. Stay tuned. Hey, folks, if you made it this far into the episode, leave the word throat rip. Again, that word is throat rip in all caps in the comment section so I know that you're a real one. This goes back to the gentleman's agreement. We talked about this in the beginning of the episode. If you've been listening to this show and you dig it, leave gentleman's agreement. If you really dig this episode and you're waiting for my only flans, it's just me and caramel pudding. If you're waiting for my OnlyFans, just put some big eggplants there, squirting and jerking. That'll work. And listen, I got to get some engagement here. You guys, you listen to the episodes and you DM me how much you love them. Enough about trying to seduce old Jerry. You know, put it in the comments where it belongs. And then, DM me your dick pics later. You see what I'm saying? We got bills to pay. Listen, when I did this originally, we were going to do something different. I don't want to tell you because I might do that I might do that in another season. But let me be honest. These are all the movies. These are all the movies that got cut because we have like a strict episode, like how many we're doing. So these were all the movies that I've wanted to do for the past 4 seasons that have now made it. Because what's happened is we've created our own lore and own mythology. And a lot of these episodes are interconnected. Sick plug to all the previous episodes. So go back and you listen to them and you start realizing like a lot of these characters like Joel Silver, they just keep appearing over and over again. It's like Charlie Day and It's Always Sunny. He's using the red strings to connect it all together. Look, thank you for supporting the show. One thing that we really have not touched is like superhero movies. But now, as we've gotten further, now that it's 2025, there's a lot of dirt. There's a lot of good dirt on superhero movies. And some of those movies you guys love. Some of them, like Jesus, Jerry, do we need an episode on Ang Lee's Hulk? Maybe. That's up to you. Leave it in the comments. Let me know what you think. Listen, I'm happy that you came here. I'm happy that you listened. Keep supporting the show. I appreciate you. With that being said, I'm Jerry Horror. This has been The Offering. Mostly horror, always genre. You've been listening to The Offering with Jerry Horror, produced by Pete Bune. If you have a question or story you want to share with me, we'd love to hear from you. You can email me at theofferingwithjerryhorror@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter at theofferingwjh or hit me up on the Instagram at Jerry Horror. You get the picture? Subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcast. Join us next time for another offering.
Chasing worries like a Maya drama twist that shake your core. Every episode, we craving more. Mostly horror, always genre.
This has been a Sick Boy Wolfgang production. Thank you for listening.